Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Clucci, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go. Hey guys, we are back again with another fire episode of Sirens, Slammers, and Service. And today I am joined by absolute badass rock star, female legend. I am joined by Helen Wright. Helen is one of the most inspiring women that I have ever met. She is not a first responder, but she is one of the best coaches that I have ever had in my entire rugby career. And she's going to talk to us today about coaching philosophy, about leading people, and about just making a difference in people's lives when you're in that leadership and in that coaching role. So welcome, Helen. So freaking pumped to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm pretty happy to be here, Nikki. This is a bit of a thrill to be given like freelance mic. Wow.
It's true. I do say that. Say whatever you want on my podcast. I don't care. Well, I just want to say you have your own podcast as well. So for our listeners, if you love the messaging that Helen is sharing with us today, if you love what she's bringing, you've got to listen to Helen's episodes. They are phenomenal. So Helen, your podcast is?
My podcast is called Coaching Needs to Change, and it's on Spotify and Amazon Music. And yeah, and also if you went to my website, which is www.barefootflying.ca, Barefoot Flying is a book I wrote, and it's sort of a memoir and sort of my coaching philosophy, but the website follows the name of the book. And so it's Barefoot Flying is the website, but the podcast is under Coaching Needs to Change, because that's what I believe, is that it does need to change, particularly in terms of women. So please come on down there and have a listen. This has been so much fun. If someday when I learn how to do all this digital and social media stuff, I'll actually be able to get people to respond and talk to them. But in the meantime, I'm happy to just, spout my stuff.
Yes. So tell me, how was like I said, I know you because you've coached me again through my formative years of rugby. So Helen was my under 19 Alberta coach. She then was my Pandas coach, has continued in like this role of just like a mentor. Like when people ask me, who do you look up to or who inspires you? Helen's name is the first thing that pops into my mind. Like you're the first person I think of, because I think you're probably one of the wisest people I've ever met.
I think I am probably an older soul, which only means that I've, done worse and more things than you guys have probably over the course of my lifetime. But I guess if I were going to, sort of just start spouting, I think I would say that I am a first responder. And the reason I say that is because almost any woman who stands up and says, no, I don't accept this, and I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and I'm gonna do it in a way that I think is appropriate and valuable. I think they are first responders, right? And because when you look on the TV, in particular, women of color or women of any color, any women, we don't see ourselves on TV, not the real selves. What we see on TV is some guy's version of who we are. And of course, none of us are that, right? And so when I lit into rugby, I had no idea what it was. I didn't even know what the game was, right? But there were elements to that particular game that I really enjoyed. And inclusivity was probably the first one. And everybody could play, all body types could play, like in some areas, little girls in elementary schools were called big fat girls. Well, in rugby, you're called a powerful woman, right? Like we need we need you in rugby because you're powerful. And, in some elementary schools, you could be called skinny mini. Well, if you've got legs that run fast and you're elusive, we need you. We need you in rugby, and we need everything in between. And there's a spot for everybody. And that was really appealing to me. So that was the first thing that drew me to that particular game. But I am drawn towards sport because it allows people to have a community. And I really think that, especially in today's world, having a community is really important, because so much of everything we do is isolated. We do everything on computers, and we don't go face to face anymore. Like, you can't see my expression. You can't see if I'm rolling my eyes or whatever, right? And all that body language, we can see that when we're in person, in community, on a field, on a court, anywhere, right? So it's really important that we connect with other people. And that's where sport, I think, has the best training grounds. So if you're going to be on a team and you're in the military, if you're going to be on a team as a first responder, as a policewoman, or as a fire person, you need to be on a team. And being on a team with guys when you're the only woman is not the easiest thing. But there is one thing that you still all have in common, and that is the need to connect. And the need to connect on a team trumps the need to be individual. And so that is the cool thing, because that is our humanity. Humanity is about connection and community, and about all of us expressing ourselves, right? And the only thing that's been a problem in the world over the course of time to this point is that there are many people who have not had an avenue to express themselves, women in particular, and then anybody of color in particular. And so when you get on a team and you're playing, and in particular in rugby, because we take all shapes and sizes, all of a sudden there is this magic that happens. There's magic, right? There is this, I need you and you need me. And that trumps everybody's ego, right? Because, a little girl on the wing does not want to get whacked by big girl coming at her at 200 miles an hour. And so she can pass the ball to somebody else, then, haha, you didn't get me because you can't, because I don't have the ball. And though some people seem to ignore that, but the big girls come over and they go, don't you touch my little girl. There's no difference in hockey where, the big defensemen go, oh, I see you. You want to hit the little flyer. That's, oh, okay, try that again, right? But this community, this linking of spirits, and that's what it is. And so it's important. It's important to do that. And if you want to do that and you don't know if you can, or how am I going to be the woman on, out of 10 guys, I'm going to be the only woman on that squad, just go, just do it, right? Just put yourself under the dome, and yeah, you can't get me. And you go in, and then you have to play the game. And the game is, I'm not going to be able to, push these guys around, or, sort of dominate or establish my role by their regular means. I'm going to have to use my brain and my wit, right? And so when I was starting with rugby, my dad used to say, Hela, you go into the lands department, and you play dumb, and you find out what they want, and then we're going to put it on the paper, and then we're going to put in the application, and maybe they're going to give us that gravel pit. And I would go, Dad, I don't have to pretend. I really am. I don't know what I am a dom, right? So it wasn't an easy role to fill. But I remember from that lesson that if you don't threaten anybody, if you just go in there and you have an authentic intention to actually contribute, right? So when I came into rugby, I wasn't trying to do anything individually, and I wasn't trying to really make a name or push an issue. All I wanted to do was, number one, I wanted to be one of the team. And then number two, I wanted all my other girlfriends to be one of the team. And then, I kind of, my appetite got whetted. They kind of said, yeah, you can talk, you can be at the table. Yeah, you can. Oh, what do you think? Oh, you think girls should play? Oh, well, that's interesting. And then, I would say things like, well, just some thoughts, guys. If you let girls play, like, you'll double your numbers at the club in terms of fees, right? You always divert to what's the best selling feature. Money.
Yep.
You'll get double the fees. You'll have all these volunteers who are going to work for nothing, and they'll actually do good work. I don't know if you've noticed, but boys don't tend to like to do that. So you'll have good volunteers, you'll have more people playing, and then their parents will come out. And then I used the card that sort of said, so do you have any daughters? What if your daughter came home and said, I want to play rugby? You're going to tell her, you gonna tell your daughter, the one in this generation, that no, girls don't play rugby? Because that would be putting a flame in front of a fire, right? That's what I did, really, is I just sort of bullshitted my way into the room, first of all, right? Oh no, I'm just here to take minutes. then I said, what they didn't realize was that when you take the minutes, you own the minutes. You can make the minutes read anything you want, right? And so I said, I'm just here to take the minutes. Yeah, okay. And so did you say, can you repeat that for me? Did you say that you're open to the idea of a women's provincial team? Yeah, girls? Yeah. Well, we're open to the idea. Okay, good. And in the minutes it said, motion to accept women's rugby, to accept the women's provincial team. And then, so here's the good thing too, is they never read the minutes, right?
Nope.
And so we come to the next meeting, and, the guy, they want to get through it quick. And they say, okay, everybody's good with the minutes, right? And they look over, and maybe one or two guys like Larry Wall, they read the minutes. They go, did we say that we were going to have a girls' provincial team? And I look up, I go, yeah, that's what I've got written down. Did you guys not write that down? Of course, nobody writes anything down. And they go, oh, okay. All right. Okay. And then, but you got to have some friends in the room too, right? Like, Jones would look at me like, we never said that. And I would look at him like, well, it's your name that made the motion. And he would just shake his finger at me and start laughing, right? And so you got to have some friends in the room, some friends that want you there too, right? And so that's kind of how it started, right? And that's how it starts everywhere. And in my opinion, it isn't really a gender thing. It is a value thing. If you want to join some group that is somehow elitist or somehow not open, then you have to provide value, so much value that they want you there, right? And that having you in the room and having your ideas presented and having, going along with your ideas is advantageous to them. In most cases, it has to be win-win-win, or you're not going to move forward. And that's like being a player as well, right? And so, I said that to my grandson. I said, honey, if you want to make that team, you're going to have to, you're not very fast. So you're going to have to come up with more value, right? You're going to have to be good scorer. You're going to have to be a good checker. You're going to have to come up with some other stuff that makes you so valuable that they can't say no to you, right? I always tell all the girls that play backs in rugby, learn how to kick. If you're a kicker and there's another girl that's vying for your position and you've got two sets of skills and they've only got one, people are going to pick you. You've got more value to them, right? And, like all the first responders that are out there, right? Like, just have more skill sets than the people you're competing and do a better job. And honestly, sometimes you have to just go, this is meant to be, or it's not meant to be. And there are lots of times when I left the room and left the table and thought to myself, okay, they're not going to give me a national under 21 team. Okay, that's not, no money, no volunteers, this is not going to happen. And then I would think to myself, okay, how can I make this valuable to them, right? Like, how can I And then sometimes you just have to go the other way, just like when we started the pandas. Nobody wants, like the existing, there was no room, there was no money. And so we went to the media and we said, you know what? How do you feel about being our speaker? Like, how do you feel about being the voice for this really good idea? And so they supported us. And so all of a sudden, we became valuable because we were, on the Edmonton Sun as a team that was trying to get into the Pandas. And all of a sudden, somebody came into Ian's office and said, we'll talk to you about girls rugby at the U of A. And Ian goes, what? We don't have any girls. He goes, well, not yet, but I think that you should take a look at what's happening out on that parking lot, Yeah. And so then when we approached Ian and he said, well, we have no money. We said, okay, fine. We got our own money. Don't worry about it. We got it. Well, we have no coaches and no volunteers. That's okay. We got lots of those. We'll bring our own. We can't promise you anything. All we want, and really all we needed from the university was credibility and sanction, because that would give all of these girls a $1,500 scholarship. That's what we wanted. That's what we really wanted. Everything else we could create. And so we just made ourselves valuable to the university, right? And I mean, sometimes, like I said, there's divine intervention. And when we went out and won the first game, we had no idea who we were playing or what we were going to do. We went out there and we played to our strengths, right? Like we had big girls, so we weren't running around the field too far. We were scrumming and lineouts and pushing it over the line. And we won by a lot, right? And so word got back to Ian. He went, huh, that's amazing. All right, I'm open to the idea. And once you got a crack in the door, you're almost there. And that's when I would say, like, to all of your women out there that are, here's something I did not know. My daughter said, Mom, did you know that most girls won't apply for a job? Like they'll give you 5 things. They'll say, you need to have these 5 things. And if the girls don't have all 5 of them, they won't apply for a job. I can assure you that my son, if he had 3 of the 5, he's applying and he's asking for a higher rate of pay. Like that. You have to actually stand up and go, I'm going for that. I'm doing that. And I'm going to figure out a way that, I'm going to do it without them maybe noticing. I'm going to slide in the back door or however you figure it out. Right. But you just go for it. Just do it. Right. And if they say you're not fit enough to be a fire person, go call Heather Wilson out on Vancouver Island. I think she's like top honcho out there. I think she's a fire chief. If you want to be inspired, call Heather Wilson on Vancouver Island and she'll tell you how it's done. She did more fitness to be a fire person than she ever did for rugby. And she made the national team in rugby. And so, like she just kept going. And if they said she wasn't fit enough, she got fitter, right? And if they said that, she needed to do more, sort of academic, well, she went and did it. You just do it. You just answer all the questions till there are no objections. And then you go, okay, so, and then don't leave it up to them. Then you go, okay, so I'll see you here Monday, right? And the guy goes, yeah, I guess I will. Right. Then that's what I did. I said, okay, so we got a women's team. And so we should put that in the fixtures, right? Now I'm going to call Stan. Is that okay with all you guys? Yeah, I guess so. Right. You're there. I just said to Ian, okay, Ian, we're good. We're at Windsor Park and all that kind of stuff. But can we get our games listed, in the university, in your list of games? Can we be part of that? Yeah, I guess okay, call this number. Right. Leave nothing to them and nothing to chance. And just, work your way around it. Don't quit. Keep coming. And then sooner or later, your authentic intention. So if you're doing this for some shit reason, it ain't going to work. Like if you're not doing this because you truly believe that girls should play rugby, it's not going to work. If you're doing this because you like riding around in an ambulance and you like the stuff that you see on TV, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to be doing this for the authentic intent. It has to be in your spirit. Like you have to have been born going, I think I want to be a policewoman, right? I think I want to be that.
Yep.
And if it's in your blood and you want to do it and it's what fills your cup, you'll find a way. You just keep going, right? It's kind of, it's like watching a Stanley Cup playoff or a World Cup playoff. In the last 4 minutes, everybody's in. And that's more about their spirits and what they were intending to do when they came into this lifetime than about any skill, any coaching, anything. It's about their destiny. And that's what I'd say to all your women. Just do it. Start it. Keep going. Get better. Take away all the points of rejection. And then sit down once you're in there and pat yourself on the back, because nobody else is going to do that. And go, good job, Helen. Good job, Nikki. Good job. All right, we're in. And if you've got other, like, you never know who's watching you. I was shocked and stunned when Nikki actually said something that I said to her back to me. I thought, holy shit, she's listening. Oh my God, I better watch what I'm saying, because they're actually listening. But that's kind of it in a nutshell, right? Like, just keep going. And that's what I would say that to my grandson, maybe trying out for hockey. You know what? You just got to know how much you want that. And if you want it as much as you think you want it, you will take action. You will eliminate all the objections and all the reasons why they shouldn't. And they will look at you with value and say, yeah, we should take that kid, because he's not really a great player, but he can play forward and defense, right? We should take that player because she can kick and she plays in the back. Like, she can do 2 or 3 things, right? And maybe we take that girl instead of that guy, as a paramedic, because she's actually got some psych training as well as all the first aid and the responder training. That's how it goes, right? You just make yourself invaluable to whoever you want to pick you. Don't do that with spouses, though. There's more criteria required. There's more. Just so you know.
I love that. Like I said, you're so wise on the things you say, and just like, I totally agree with you. And I love how you're saying, like, take away any rejection point. Think, okay, what's the next thing they're going to say no to? Or what's the next thing that they're going to not agree to? And have an answer ready. The flip side of this is, and I want you to touch on this, because I know throughout your insane coaching career, and you've coached everything from U19s to Pandas to senior men's clubs to U23 Canada, like you ran the gamut of coaching. How do you stop the burnout from just the continual grind to get things done? Because I feel like as women, we are committed and we're like, this is the goal I'm going for. But inevitably at some point you hit the wall where you're just like, is this worth it? Like, all of this energy, all this effort, again, having to forethink rejection points and having to have an answer before they, hit us with the no, is exhausting. It's exhausting. And especially when you're doing it for something that is the same, that guys get it as the same. So how do we prevent that burnout, or how do you prevent that, just where you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I just give up. I'm so done with.
Yeah, I think, well, so first of all, the very first thing you do is you never do this alone, right? Like, if you're going down this path, and I don't mean that you have to have a teammate right by your side, but that's handy. Is that you don't do any of this alone. You gather your people. You gather your people together that have the same kind of thinking as you. So when we started the Pandas, I like, Carrie was as excited about a Panda program and her daughter going to university and playing on a university, and she was prepared to do. And I said to her, look, I'm not doing all of that organizing stuff, right? I just can't. And she said, no worries, I got it, right? And Matt, right? Like I said, Matt, I hired you at the Alberta Rugby Union, but I need you to come and help me to do this on-field stuff, right? And Maxi and like we would gather all the physios. Like you need a team, and even if you're going into something, I think like like police work, you still need a team around you. You need support, people who will say, okay, that's how it's going to be. Even friends on the force to say, no, you know what, that's got nothing to do with gender. That's all about just the year two of being on the streets kind of thing. So you need a team. You can't do it alone. You have to understand right away that there's a shelf life to everything, right? There's a shelf life. You're going to be able to do this for a period of time, and then you will have to stop either doing it, or doing it to the degree you're doing it, and take a break and just kind of rejig it and because you have to be inspired to do this kind of stuff, right? You have to be inspired. And so sometimes inspiration wanes, like it's not there all the time. And when the inspiration wanes, then you have to go fill your cup somewhere. So for instance, when my inspiration wanes, all I have to do is go out to a junior girls practice or camp or something like that, and hear that they're not getting this or they're not getting that. And all of a sudden I am pumped up again, right? But, so you go to the source of your inspiration. What was it that got you going in the first place? What was filling your cup to make you go this far? And you take breaks, and that you have a shelf life, and that, maybe you can do this forever. Like if it's your career, you kind of want to, but in a lot of careers, you can change roles. And that's a good idea to keep in mind if you're going into some career where you can shift to another role when you are at burnout in the role that you're at, right? And so but I know what you're talking about, Nikki, because you are the one who is like coaching under fives, putting together schedules for the Edmonton Rugby Union, running your own rockers like you've got 55 handles out there, and they all have deadlines, and they all have expectations. And at some point, you're going to have to figure out which 5 are the most important to you, because you're going to burn out, right? And you're no good to anybody when you burn out. And so you have to, maybe at the outset, even it would be good advice to kind of go, okay, I'm going to do what it takes to get to this particular place. So once I've got the pandas established, and once they're successful, and once they're going, like all during that time, I had to work as well, right? So I knew that I would not be able to do that for a very long time. So once it was running, and that's a bit of a legacy thing, right? Where if you create a program or you create something, you have to create it so that it can stand on its own with other people that are delivering it, right? And so that's what the Panda program does. And people can criticize and say it's not this or it's not that, and that's not how it was at the beginning. Well, no, it isn't, because there's different people doing it. But the fact that the program still exists, and the accessibility to the people that you were trying to draw to it, so if they're still under fives going in 10 years, Nikki, you've done a good job, right? Because you started it, and they're still running, and it's other people doing it, but under fives still have a program. If there are 50% of the forces of police or fire forces are women, then we've achieved. Like, do you know what I mean? Like then it's good. Then the legacy is there. Then then it just keeps rolling along, and it has all its own dynamics of a growing sort of institution or whatever. But
stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, wanted to pop on here before we got into this next episode and let you know about a couple new rad ideas that we have for the podcast. So, the first one is we have a survey up, and I would love to know what you guys think about the show. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your ideas for the next season. And I'd just love to know what you like and what you dislike about the podcast. And I'm going to sweeten the deal with a $50 gift card randomly drawn from everybody that completes the survey. The survey is going to be in the show notes of all of our shows. So no matter what time you start listening to the podcast at, you'll get a chance to win that gift certificate. The second thing that we're bringing in now is the ability for you guys to leave us a voicemail. You guys can actually call into the show, leave us a voicemail, let us know what you think about the show. If you have a funny story you'd like to share from your time as a first responder, I would love those and showcase those on the show as well. So make sure you guys check out that voicemail feature. It's going to be in the show notes, and check out the survey. Make sure you get that chance to win that gift certificate.
There is a shelf life. You do have to pick. You have to figure out really quickly what fills your cup. Make sure that you've got that as part of it. And then actually take some time to go, yeah, good job. Good job. Very good job, Helen. Yeah, yeah. And now, pick up your beer into the field and enjoy the game.
I like that, because I think a lot of times as women, we are like, Kate, we just got to grind. You just got to keep going good. You got to keep all the balls in the air at all the times. And you just got to keep pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself. And we push ourselves to the point of burnout because we don't take those breaks. We don't allow ourselves to refill our cup. We don't allow ourselves, we say, we don't have time to do that. We don't have time to go out to a junior girls practice and be re-inspired, or to go out onto the floor at jail and be inspired by what, by what the staff need, or whatever it is, like whatever leadership role you're trying to move yourself into. We don't, and we definitely do not celebrate ourselves. We get to where we are and we're like, okay, check the box. Next thing, what's the next step, right? We don't take a moment to sit and go, holy shit, God damn it, I did it. Like, I'm here. All those things that I worked for, I actually did it. Like, oh my God, I actually did it. We just see the next goal or the next
challenge.
Checkbox. Yes.
That's right. It's valid because, if you don't stay on some of this stuff, they're pretty quick to cut, right? Like the first things they're going to cut are the girls' programs, right? Because, you only had 5 people out. Yeah, but that's because we're just at the beginning of it, and, we're just ending COVID. Give it a break already, right? Give us a minute here. Yeah. And so you feel like you need to always be defending what you've created. But at some point, you have to actually, and this is what we're not good at some point, we have to talk to the next generation, or we have to, talk to other women around us and say, I'm done with this, but this needs attending. And so can I leave this in your hands? And when you go, you have to move it to somebody else's hands. That's the rule. And so in the pandas, the very first pandas that ever played, the first thing we said is that your job, once you graduate, is to go out and coach other girls. And that could be the same with first responders, right? Your job is to make sure that you've always got somebody coming up behind you.
I think too, and like you touched on this in one of your episodes when you were interviewing Jill, and about sometimes as women, we are our best cheerleaders, and sometimes as women, we are the worst for each other, because there is that innate competition, and there's that. And I say innate, but I don't actually believe that. I believe that that's something that's been instilled in us, is to compete with other women, is to...
It's completely socialized. We have grown up watching that only one girl gets picked at the Bachelorette, whatever that TV series is, right? Yeah. That is like the worst. That is how socialized we have become. There are a lot of other guys out there. Yes. Right? Why do you think all of you have to just get this one? Right?
Yeah.
And so we have been taught that there are no seats at the table. And if you're there as a female, you better make sure that if you want to keep your seat, you better make sure that no other girls get there. And that is the biggest bullshit line that ever existed. And it is the most powerful one, because it hits us to the core. Oh my God, if I don't keep this one, then nobody, we won't have a voice at all. And that's fear. and they monger fear all the time. And so girls, but I mean, in some cases, you might be the human resources person, and there are some females that apply for a job and they're not they're not suited for what you're looking for. And so of course you're gonna maybe pick a guy, or you maybe gonna pick another girl, whatever. But we as females have not been around this game long enough to not take this personally, right? And so when I find out that I've put forward 3 women coaches, and that it's the women on the board that have turned down those coaches or not supported those nominations, I get really mad, right? And I feel really betrayed from those women. But it's interesting. Would I be mad and would I feel betrayed if they weren't women? No, I wouldn't. I would just go about trying to get my girls nominated anyway, right?
Yeah.
And so it is so deeply in our socialization that we feel really betrayed when other women don't jump on the same bandwagon as us. And of course, like, I mean, if we thought about it, you could have a female that's on the left hand of the politics scale, a female that's on the right hand politics. They're going to not agree. They're not going to pick the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And yet, we go, well, you should be siding with me because I'm a female. No, that's it's not that at all, right? And so let's get that out of our socialization. It doesn't matter whether we're females or not, but what we do need to do is understand that there are many seats at the table, and the only thing that's holding anybody back is fear.
Well, and I think you'd said it in that episode, like you're saying, there's many seats at the table. Fill them with women. Put more seats at the table and put more women at the table, rather than being fearful that your one seat. Like, the issue is that there's only one fucking seat for women. Like, that's the issue, right? Not that it's your seat and then it might be taken, but that there's only one seat, right? No, we need to be filling all those seats with women.
Yes.
So, and bringing as many women up as we can.
Yes. Like, run for president, run for treasurer, run for every job you think that you could do, and then fill the room with women. Right. And that might be a real interesting leadership team, I'm sure.
Well, I was going to say, as the Rockers president, I can speak to that, because that is part of the thing, is like, we are an all women's club. All of the executive are on our board are women. And it is an interesting dynamic in that, sometimes there's like you're saying, some people believe this and some people believe this. And then that just becomes, okay, let's have a conversation. As women, are we usually more passionate about our views? Yes. Like, do we end up talking longer? Yes. Do we take into consideration a lot more things? Are we able to make those cutthroat decisions not as quickly or as efficiently? Probably not, because we do care more about people's feelings and how will this ripple out and who will be affected, right? But I don't see that as a weakness. I see that as just a different way of making decisions, right? Like, you can come in and say, as a business person, this is the profit line, and this is this, and that we're going to make this decision here. As a women's board, you can say, this is the profit line, this is the decision we need to make, but what is the fallout going to be emotionally? Where are the staff going to fall? What is going to, is profits actually going to decrease if we make this, because morale is going to decrease, right? And sometimes those are things that we need to right? You need to take those into consideration. So I do agree with that. And I will say, as a person running, an all-female board, the other thing is, it's amazing because we make the decision for what's going to happen, and there is no and I go back to rugby just because that's us. But, I've sat on boards where I've been the only female on the board. And it's like, okay, well, great. So all the money is going to the guys? Well, no, I don't agree with that. I think we need to divvy up the money, and we need to give some money to the girls. Well, no, we're just going to keep this money here. Or, well, all the girls can do all the fundraising. They can work all the bingos. And they, right? And then all of that money, or like, again, having girls that we play against come to me and say, hey, like, we're trying to change things on our board. Like, what do you guys do? And I'm like, well, we do this, this, and this. And they're like, so you just get all the money? And I'm like, yeah.
we get all the money. We make the money. We get to keep the money. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we make the money, but we don't get to keep the money. I was like, well, then you need to get on the board and you need to change that. Like if your women are working all of the bingos and organizing all of the social events and, doing all of the parent commitment volunteers, and your women's program is not getting that money back, like go on the board and address
Well,
that, like
and
change
not
that.
only that, but get your, like, you need to get people in the places that are making those decisions. So, have 3 girls run for treasurer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, do what the politicians, split the vote, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but get yourselves in the positions where you can have some influence, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a women's representative, good on your club. Get a woman treasurer, because she'll be the most influential in the terms of funding. Get a woman's
Mm-hmm.
vice president or president, right? Like, get
Yep.
yourself 3 or 4 women on that board. And even you can promise a couple of them, you don't have to do anything. You just have to come and vote in the right direction, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so, and that's the key, right? Is that the person most important on most boards is the treasurer, right? Because they hold the purse strings. And if you want access to some of that money, that's either going to have to be your best friend or a female or, somebody that is like-minded.
For sure. Like an ally that's going to see your direction. Yeah, I agree with that. So we've talked a lot about the challenges, like that, what we have to push through and how we have to be kind of smarter and more strategic. I feel like it's more strategic, not necessarily smarter, but more strategic in how we play the game, I guess is the best way to really sum it up, is how to play the game. So tell me what are the things, like from you moving through your role? And I mean, again, you've had tremendous success. Like the Pandas is just one of your successes. I mean, it's a massive, we just celebrated our 25th anniversary, 25 years of phenomenal female athletes coming out of U of A, and just great female leaders. Like after being there this weekend, I like my cup is overflowing, just having talked again to these women that, we, when we're there, we're little babies, right? We're in university, we're kind of figuring out what are we going to do? Like we're going to take this in school, and when I grow up, I'm going to be this. And now here we are 25 years down the road, and we are those things, or maybe we're not.
Most
like
of
for
you
me,
are,
I'm not.
Actually, you all said that you were not going to be mothers. You all said you were not going to be wives. You all worried if you were going to get jobs. And I think almost everybody in that room is a mother with 2 or 3 kids and careers, right? And so talk about have it all. If you think about it, almost all of the women that I know today, kind of under 50 and maybe over 30, they are just rocking it, in my opinion. And they're good mothers. I mean, like, they don't say things like I did to my kids, which is get out of here, right? I'm busy. No, oh my God, you guys are, can I help you, honey? I'm going, oh gosh, I wish I was that good when I was a mother. But like, you're rocking it as parents, you're rocking it as contributors to the community and society. And like, we got doctors and lawyers and everything in there, look at you, you worked in the penal system, for God's sakes. 5 foot nothing, big mouth, bad mouth, and there she is bossing around inmates. It just blows me away, but in some ways it doesn't, right? In some ways it doesn't. But yeah, and great mom of 3 kids, teaching yoga. Okay, like take all of those things and go, yes, women today could, if they want to, and if their intention is authentic, they can have it all.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. And like you said, you think back to when we were in university. Yeah, am I ever going to graduate? Am I ever going to get married? Am I ever going to, right? And yet it happens, and it happens faster than you would ever believe. And then you look back and you go, oh my gosh, look at this next generation of girls that we're bringing up. And looking back now, my oldest is 14 and she wants to be a panda. And my youngest, so I brought that sweater and handed it around because she said she wanted the girls to sign it. When I brought that sweater, she wore it to school today, her autographed sweater, because she wanted to show all of her kids at school that the pandas signed her sweater. And like, I came through the door and I held up the sweater, and I wish I had gotten it on video, because the way her eyes lit up, and she was just like, oh my God, like this is amazing, right? And so I think to myself, like, this is women inspiring women, right? This is this 7-year-old is going to remember this, and as she grows up, she's going to want to be one of these strong women. And so when we take it back to our first responder, right, these little girls are looking at you. They're looking at you in uniform. Yeah. They're looking at you and they're going, when you arrive to the fire and you're a female, or when you arrive to the call and you're a female, or when you arrive and you're, in the worst medical emergency that this kid has ever seen, and it's a female, right? They're going to remember that. They're going to remember that it was a female that was there, and the skill sets that we bring that are slightly different, but exactly equal to the male counterparts that we work with. So I just love it. I love seeing that, and I love hearing, the way that everybody has moved through their lives. For you, what's on the docket now? Because I know you're not slowing down, and I know you can, like I said, you continually inspire me, because I just go, one is no longer in the kids phase, right? Your kids are grown up, they're married, they have their own kids now, and now you're in this different, you're not in the day-to-day. Like, and I love that you say that we don't say get out of here. We tell our kids to get out of here all the fucking time. Like, all the time. Every single one of us. That's because we talked about it at the table at supper. We're like, do your kids drive you bananas? This is the greatest night ever. I'm not with my children. Look at me enjoying like a time to myself. Right?
That's right.
So yes, we do.
Yeah. So it is pretty interesting. So first off, being a grandmother, my son, every once in a while, he goes, Mom, I'm going to have to put you back on restricted visitations because you're telling these kids stuff again. Right. And of course, like they don't have to come home to supper to my house. Right. So I have the freedom to say, yeah, no, go ahead, jump off that, go for it. You'll be fine. Right. So the grandmother thing is pretty interesting. Right. And it's interesting when you, so first off, my daughter just had a baby, and I'm shocked and stunned. I go, Amanda, that you were a formula baby and you look pretty healthy, and I didn't boil anything. So, I'm feeling a bit inferior now. And she goes, no, Mom, I'm just making sure that, I don't kill this kid. And I looked at her and I said, I never thought that, actually. I thought that was that they just lived, right? I thought that's just what happened, right? And there's so much information. So that's interesting, the grandparent thing. The other thing that I am I'm getting more excited because it's more fun is this podcast thing. And what I would love to do is I would love to collect all these podcasts and maybe find a format to put them in, because what I'm realizing, people don't read books anymore, and people need tools. And I thought to myself, everybody, and I know the value of this, of having a mission statement and making plans and coaching plans and all that kind of stuff. But it takes a long time to do that shit and to write it out and everything. So what I would love to do is find some little social media high-tech guru to help me kind of go, okay, I will give you the questions. I want you, when they fill in the answer, I want it to spit it out for them in a format that they go, this is my season plan. This is my, this, if they do all this work and they fill in the blanks, they will have a document. They will have like when I go up to most coaches and I say, so, what are your defensive patterns or what are your offensive patterns? They look at me like, well, we're going to, like our defensive patterns are going to be up fast. That's not a defensive pattern. That's just one thing that you do in the pattern, right? Like, and so that's what I'm kind of excited. I would like to create something like that is a really easy, like computerized kind of tool where a coach could go and say, okay, I'm going to do these things that Helen has listed. I'm going to listen to her podcast. I'm going to do these things. And when I'm done, I will come away with what I need for my team and my coaches and my staff for the season. Like I'll have a plan in my head and I'll have an idea on if that plan needs to change, how I can change it. So that's my kind of thing. And, isn't it funny? Again, this is a female thing. I have never given myself credibility for coaching knowledge. And as I get older now, and as I kind of look around and I look at like even the NCCP stuff and that, I kind of go, you know what? There is so much out there that people are doing that is unnecessary, and there's so much out there that people are not doing because it's not in the sort of stream of stuff, right? That like it's just amazing to me. You go for a weekend, and I mentioned this on one of my podcasts. You go for a weekend coaching clinic, and and you spend a whole weekend, and now that is like incredibly a valuable time, and they teach you the flavor of the day of what is happening, right? So you take it home and you try it on your crew, and of course it doesn't work because they're talking about such a different level, right? Like you think so. In the last World Cup game that I watched, Ireland had 39 continuous points of play, 39 phases of play. I can assure you that if you're watching any local rugby, men or females, if you get 8, you could be proud of yourself. You should be proud of that team, right? Yeah. These folks had 39. Clearly, they're playing at a different level, right? So what works for them ain't gonna work for you, right? And so it's that kind of information that you're not going to get at a coaching course. You're not going to get that at a NCCP, or I don't even think they call it that anymore, but the sort of government sponsored theory courses, and that you're not going to get the reality. And so that's what I would like to hone in on, and just sort of give myself credit for knowing some of that shit that nobody is saying out loud.
I 100% agree with that. And we kind of talked about this when we were talking about some Edmonton rugby and stuff about, like we can't get coaching courses here, and we're trying, and but the thing that people have put now value on a certificate, right?
Yeah.
If you have to do this course, if you don't get a certificate, it doesn't matter. Well, yes, it does still matter, because we could do an evening session with you in 3 hours, an unaccredited course, no certificate at the end of it. Or I'll make you a certificate. I'll fucking draw it. And,
I can do that.
Photocopy it and hand it out, right? Hand it out at the end. That at the end of those 3 hours, you're probably going to come away with better working strategies and better ideas and more relevant strategies and workflows than you would in sitting in a 2-day certified course, right? I mean, and that's not always the case. It depends on who you have, but
information is never not valuable, right? Like you'll get nuggets everywhere you go, even if you're hearing the same stuff you knew before. A lot of times who is teaching it, like the person who is delivering it, has a huge impact on whether it's relevant to you or not, right? And so and now I hate to say this, but in the days gone by, we used, volunteers delivered those courses, right? And they might have got an honorarium, but now, everything needs to be a full-time career job, but there's too many people that need these courses, and you can't be like putting that all on 1 or 2 people, on one side of the country. Like you need to get volunteers, and that's a whole other, that's like 4, maybe 6 podcasts about volunteers, right? Is because like we don't appreciate them. They're not coming forward because they, like you say, they burn out so quickly. They're unsupported, right? And of all the things that we should do first and right is that we should look at our volunteers, value them, treat them with respect, and help them to expand as well. And if you do that, all the rest, I'm pretty sure will follow.
Yeah. And I think that it transfers over so well into business. What you're saying, so the volunteers in business, those are your staff, right? And so it's the exact same thing. It's treat them well. It's take care of them. It's know what their strengths are. It's diversify what you need from them and utilize those strengths of those people, right? And when we're talking about leadership, right? Just because you're in a 2-hour, uncertified course doesn't mean that the person that's leading it doesn't have really valuable information. And maybe we need to start to look to some of our senior staff to lead those sessions rather than bringing in external consultancy agencies that know nothing of our business, that don't know anything about what we're trying to do. Let's utilize some of our skill sets within our senior staff and have them lead these sessions, right? So I love it. I think that's amazing.
Invest in the education of your senior staff. right? Like, that's a perk for them. Then these are these win-win-win situations, right? Send your senior staff off for a weekend to take this course. That's a perk. They come back, they're all excited. Now they can teach it to your regular staff using your clients, right? Like using the data that you have that you're working with as examples, so that it's so relevant, and then your frontline person or your delivery person goes out and they're successful. Win, win, win all the way around.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so I know I've taken up a whole whack of your morning, so I'm gonna wrap up with some rapid fire questions. And normally these are more affiliated with first responders, but I feel like we can still link them in. So the one that I always ask everybody is, what is your favorite food or snack while you're on shift? And for you, I'm gonna change it. So what is your go-to food or snack when you are either coaching or you're on tour with somebody?
Easy. Bananas and yogurt.
Okay, I love it. Portable, easy to use, easy to eat. That's good. I like it. Okay. The next one I have for you is, what is a piece of advice that you would give to somebody that is moving into a leadership role or a coaching role? Something where they're going to be responsible for the well-being and performance of others.
I would say that the thing that I would advise most, if you're moving into leadership, is really listen and look at the environment you're going into, gather all your data and really listen to people, and then assess, right? Like, you can make your assessments once you've listened and you've seen what the environment is, and really try and get your finger on the pulse of what is happening, and then gently incorporate the people that you've got in your environment into a possible vision that you might have, or a plan, and get their feedback. Do everything in a co-creative way.
I love that. That is fantastic. That is, yeah. And I think on the upside of that too is to build the team that's going to do that with you, because I think that is something as women that we say, I'm going to do this, and we take it all on ourselves, when really we should just build that team and run with that team together. Okay, the last one I'm going to ask you, and this one may be tough, and I'm probably putting you right on the spot, but out of all of your years of coaching, all of the experiences that you've had, what is one of your top coaching memories that you have?
Well, I was just thinking about this the other night, and one of the funniest memories, and just kind of cool memories, is because it's just goofy, is that we were playing in the 5th national championship, and Ian Reid decided that he was going to get us in Edmonton, Alberta, in like around Halloween, to host the national championship. So it was snowing, and like we needed the whole community to, like, Larry Wall got Strathcona County to come and brush off the snow off the fields. People were shoveling snow off the fields. Yes. Oh my God. And so we were playing this national championship, and my friend Rick Suggett was helping coach, and the referee, he was just igniting the referees. Like, he was just making them crazy. And so he got kicked off the field, and he was never friends with Brent Gallagher. As a matter of fact, the two were like just antagonistic towards each other. But in that moment, Brent Gallagher and Rick Suggett got into Brent Gallagher's truck and parked at the end of the field, because they weren't allowed on the field. And every time the Pandas had the ball, they would toot the horn, right? And it was just such a moment of I don't know, it was just funny and poignant. I mean, here we were playing rugby in Edmonton in front of our own people, our people getting kicked off the field, but like nobody was accepting any kind of authority. It's right. No, we're doing this one way or another. This is happening, right? And we were all freezing our asses off, but we won that championship. And it was just one of the most incredible moments that I remember, because it just had so many funny things about it.
You know what? That's amazing. And I remember that one because, yes, national championship, because I was an alumni at that point, was to run the alumni tent, right? And so we had a tent and we had heaters inside of it and we had hot chocolate and food. And everybody kept trying to get into the tent because it was freezing. And we shoveled the lines off and we were like, I was like, I'm like having to do security to keep people out of the tent. And then really like, about 20 minutes into the game, I said, I don't even care. Just everybody come in, everybody eat. Yeah. I just don't even care. Just get in here. Let's all get warm. But yeah, I absolutely remember that. I did not know that about Brent and Sluggo because they never got along. So that is hilarious. And I love that.
Yeah,
yes,
they were just best buds after that.
Yeah. Well, Helen, it has been an absolute slice having you on today. And I think just some of the like little nuggets of wisdom that you've shared, and just, just even changing our thought process around being more strategic in how we approach the challenges that we're faced and how we approach the, the rejections or the potential rejections. That alone, I think if anybody that's listening can take that. And again, this is boys or girls. If you're coming into a challenge, be strategic about it, right? Think about different ways that you can, what value added are you going to bring to the table?
You can just even ask yourself, what is it going to take for this person to say yes?
Love that. Love that. Any last words for our listeners before we sign off?
You know what? You've tapped me. I don't have any pearls left other than just, if you think you should do it, you should do it. Just do it.
Yes, 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 yes. All right. Thank you so much for your time today, Helen. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I really enjoyed this. This is going to be fun. I will get one for you on my podcast now.
Absolutely, we will. Absolutely, we will. Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.